Let's get it. What's going on, guys? Avid Necro here, bringing you an updated Army of the Dead build for Update 43, and it is a banger. Don't mind the music box in the background. We are in the home of my domain. This is the graveyard. This is where we do all of our builds. This is where I hang out when I'm not in Battlegrounds or if I'm in BGs. Probably just going to hide this camera too, just because I want the full screen on. So there we go. And then, yeah, that's fine. I'll turn it back on in a little bit. All right. So this is the Army of the Dead. We have Scribing introduced in the last update in the summertime, update 42, which was Gold Road. And with that being said, that plus the upcoming buffs that Necromancer is receiving is going to change the class ultimately for the better. Some people are still kind of upset that it's not up to par with like the rest of the classes, Nightblade, Sorcerer, Warden per se, but ultimately in the end, I'm excited to try out the changes that they gave us, and it's going to be a better quality of life for the class overall. So with that being said, let's jump right into our character sheet here. These are our unbuffed stats on the front bar. No, this is the back bar. I apologize. Unbuffed stats on the front bar. Looking at 30k health, it's pretty much optimal to have your health at about 30,000 these days. I wouldn't really try to go any higher than that, otherwise you'll be sacrificing other areas of the build that are pretty important. But max magic is also sitting just at about 30k. That's looking great. Max stamina is at 13k, and then our recoveries will all go up respectively with our buffs and our skills. Spell damage 3200, critical spell critical isn't that important because the lower the enemy's health, the higher our spell crit will get. Penetration's looking good. That's before major and minor breach. And then our critical resistance is at a 2k flat before any of our other buffs. Magic and health, our attributes are 41 and 23. This is what gives us that 30,000 health. Jewels of Mizrael is the food of choice that I go with for this build. You could do a bi-stat food if you wanted to, but I highly suggest doing a tri-stat just because we do dip into our stamina pool quite a bit on this build. Thus, dodge rolling and breaking free, especially in no CP, it can get quite costly. As of right now, while I'm playing in Update 42, I do use one skill that I will be dropping next patch because we will no longer require it. So I won't be as stamina thirsty, but it's still nice to have that stamina recovery at least up to about 1,000. We are a high elf still, and I am using the Atronach. High elf is probably my favorite for damage dealing, just all around damage dealing for any magic class. You can obviously do whatever you want. It's not going to make it or break it, but high elf is what I pretty much like to go for just because of the passives for both magic and stamina when one resource is lower. And then it gives us great max magic and spell damage across the board. Looking into our champion points here. Champion points are a little bit different. That's definitely not right. Cleansing Revival, if you do take this into open world, it's always nice to have a full cleanse, even though we do run hexproof on the bar. Master at Arms, just increasing our direct damage. Deadly Aim, increasing our single target damage. And then just buffing our weapon and spell damage across the board. I was trying to keep it as simple as I could with CP only because the type of playstyle that we are running is super aggressive in the sense of bursting somebody is generally single target, but we do have some AoE aspects to the build. So I thought, why not just have direct damage and single targets rather than AoE and direct damage, just because it's going to better... the burst that we provide is going to be better suited for single target damage. So keep that in mind. Untamed Aggression is also going to help out with our healing too. Red Tree, we are looking at Celerity. We are looking at Bastion. Just because of the amount of Sorks and Arcs out there, it's pretty much a must these days. Like, the effectiveness against damage shields are just insane. It's hard to even notice with with Bastion, and I couldn't imagine playing without it, especially in a CP campaign. And then Fortified and Boundless, just because having our health and armor up is always a plus. And Necro doesn't really have to worry too much about the rest of these that you see here because of our abilities to just stay tanky and our passives ultimately helping out with recovery. Green Tree, nothing too important. Rationer, Liquid Efficiency, Gifted Rider, Steed's Blessing. You can do whatever you want with this. It's not going to make or break the build. Oh, Dark. AoE's back there. I was like, why am I in combat? I'm in my house. Jumping into our gear here. So, we are using the Ritualist sets. Ritualist is by far one of my favorites to use on a Necromancer simply because it just opens up the build so much for that Necro feeling where you are raising the dead and getting the... I can't speak. Raising the dead and getting stuff done. So... max magic across the board, just helping boost our max stats, which is also going to help out with damage and healing. And then dealing damage puts a Ritualist mark on the enemy for 10 seconds, and then while they have this Ritualist mark, they take an additional 16% damage from our summoned pets. It's not just the pets in the Necro toolkit, it is any summoned pets. So any sets, 5-piece sets that summon something, any monster helms that summon a pet will do that extra 16% damage. And the only cooldown is, well, there is none. You just constantly apply pressure and the Ritualist dot will just stay on the target. Unfortunately, it is single target, which is why I explained in the CP tree that single target is probably a little bit better than AoE. Only because I feel like this should do area targeting, but you know, the skill might be, or the set might be broken if it ever did come to that. So it is what it is. I'm not going to complain too much about it. I do enjoy it a lot, though. Rallying Cry in the back bar. Defending Resto Staff. We do a Destro Resto setup, and I like it a lot. It reminds me of my old Sorcerer days. Definitely going to be boosting our critical resistance to about 4,000, if I remember correctly. So... what Rallying Cry does, for those that don't know, it gives us a little bit of critical chance, gives us max magic, and then while Battle Spirit is active, which is generally anytime that we're in a PvP zone, like Battlegrounds, Imperial City, or Cyrodiil, anytime we critically heal ourselves, which is quite often, because we are wearing all light armor, we gain 300 weapon and spell damage and 1650 critical resistance for 20 seconds. That is a pretty large window for PvP. And then, of course, if we're in a group, each member is going to be affected with this as well, but it's reduced by 15 and 83 respectively per person. So not too bad. It's still a pretty decent set, even if you have 4 people in this procs, but when you're alone and you're outnumbered in a solo situation, the 300 weapon and spell damage and the critical resistance goes a long way. One of my favorite back bar sets. It made the list for this updated build, and it has been working quite fine. Finally, I have never in my entire ESO career brought this monster mask dungeon 2-piece set to my PvP career. I never thought that it would come to this, but I definitely thought, why not just try it out? And Frank the Tank has been doing wonders for me. So, Maw of the Infernal. Definitely a slept-on set, especially in a Ritualist build like this, giving us more max magic, and anytime we deal damage with a light or heavy attack, we have a 33% chance to summon a fire-breathing Daedrith for 15 seconds. The Daedrith's attacks deal 2,500 flame damage every 2 seconds. The Daedrith can only be summoned once every 15 seconds. Generally, it's about a 90% uptime. I feel like... Basically, anytime I light or heavy attack, it procs, so the 33% it's definitely misconstrued. I feel like it's 100% pretty much all the time. So yeah, we can just demonstrate this real quick over here. I bet you my first light attack's going to summon it. Nope, put the Ritualist mark on him, though. Oh, look at it, I jinxed myself. Okay, so 3 in. So there's Frank the Tank. That's Maw the Inferno. He does a couple of light attacks. He's just going to fire breathe. This is all AoE, by the way. So anytime he swipes or bites, that's single target. But anytime he does his fiery breath, that is AoE. Queue up, he said. So yeah, anytime we light our heavy attack, that's going to spawn that guy. And he is also going to take, or anybody that's getting damaged from him is going to take 16%. More damage from him because of the Ritualist set. So overall, really good, synergized with each other. Trainee for the chest, give us max stats across the board. And then I have impen on all of my body pieces just to keep our impen as high as we possibly can, only because we are running 5 light pieces of armor. I'm sorry, 4 pieces of light armor. I switched this to medium just to like help out with the damage a little bit. But if you really wanted to, you could put on another light and give yourself a little bit more penetration and spell critical. Nothing too crazy. But yeah, 4 lights, 2 medium, 1 heavy. And then on my jewelry, I have the Saint and Seducer. This is an awesome one-piece mythic that's going to give us a whole bunch of buffs and debuff the enemy at the same time. It's a lot of things that we do lack. Major Berserk, Major Resolve, Major Force, Major Evasion, Major Courage. So along with these, we're going to apply Minor Maim, Minor Breach, Minor Brittle, Minor Vulnerability, Minor Cowardice. When we go to update 43 on console, there are a couple of skills on our bar that we will swap around, giving us both major and minor buffs that will coincide with this mythic. So keep that in mind. And then I'm running Swift on my Ritualist ring and Rallying Cry ring. Maxed. Here it is. Max weapon and spell damage and magicka recovery for the ring. And then I have the reduced health, magic, and stamina cost with the infused trait on the necklace to offset the cost of some of our skills that pretty much dip into every resource pool that we have, including health. So definitely helps out. Once we are not vampire anymore, it's going to offset the cost even more, just because Necromancer won't have to be vampire next patch, because we will be equally as tanky, if not slightly tankier, than the rest of the vampires that are running around out there. Fuck you guys. Fuck vampire. It was a much needed nerf. I'm so glad that it's finally coming to light. Can't wait. Looking at our skills, starting off, of course, what a summoner build should be is having all of our summons on the front bar. Why not? Skeletal Archer, this guy is going to do increased 15% damage per tick, including the Ritualist mark damage bonus, so pretty much 30% damage, excuse me, starting off, and then an extra 15% on top of the rest of his attacks every 2 seconds. Does a lot of damage, it costs stamina, and then with our passives, it's going to cost low stamina because of reusable parts. Spirit Guardian, this is going to give us a nice heal, transfer some of the damage to the spirits, so it's going to make us buff. It's going to make us tankier. This is our flex spot. I'll talk about this one in a second. Magic Soul. This is our new spammable on the Army of the Dead set. And as you can read the tooltip here, this does 3 things while we cast it. It's going to do upfront damage. It does great damage. It's going to consume a soul gem and generate 4 ultimate up to once every 5 seconds. So pretty much every rotation that we dish out, this is going to give us 4 ultimate on top of the 3 that we earn from light and heavy attacks. So we're going to be generating ultimate quite a bit, and that is because of our ultimate animate blast bones, hence the Army of the Dead name. That's where it got it from. Originally, I was running 2 sets that would reduce the ultimate cost by 30%, making animate blast bones cost only 230 ultimate. But of course, that's not possible with our new setup, so I thought it would be perfect to run the ultimate generating signature script for our spammable. That way we are constantly getting ultimates, and then it's going to help us get our animate blast bones, aka Army of the Dead, a lot quicker. And it's really not bad. I'd say probably If you're good about timing your light and heavy attacks, you can get this up once a minute. I know that seems like a long time to wait, but you know it honestly is worth it if you could sacrifice the ability of just spamming an ultimate that's cheap and then waiting for one that's like totally worth it, like this one. And overall, it just feels good because you're summoning 3 here, and then you can summon your own. You got 4 fucking blast bones just charging at someone. So yeah. So, back to the flex spot. Currently, I'm using Ricochet Skull. Ricochet Skull is doing awesome burst damage. It's definitely helping out with firing the Blast Bones, and then I will fire the Ricochet Skull and then spam the Magical Soul until the rotation's over, and I'll rinse repeat until I get this to do the 50% increased damage up to 2 times. And then once it does, it all lines up 50% damage here, plus the Blighted Blast Bones. They hit together, and it's a super bang. Super wow. Yeah, but when you're able to go to update 43, there's a chance that I was thinking about dropping this, and I was just going to throw on either Remote Totem, because Remote Totem got buffed as well. This is going to apply Major Cowardice on the enemy, and I think if I remember correctly, that's gonna last for 4 seconds when they leave the totem too. So decreasing the spell and weapon damage by I think 430 is going to stack with the Minor Cowardice that our Satan Seducer ring gives. So that's a lot of reduced weapon and spell damage on the enemy. So that is one spot. If I don't put this here, I'm going to put this on the back bar because I was going to replace Vigor with this. I'm sorry, I was going to replace Vigor with Remote Totem because Vigor is no longer that important since Bone Armor got buffed and will be giving us our minor resolve for increasing our physical and spell resistance. So we can drop Vigor, even though it is a nice heal. It's not that important because we won't be Vampire anymore, so we won't be taking extra flame damage and extra Fighters Guild damage. And overall, it's not going to be as... we won't feel as squishy just because we won't have Vampirism anymore. So, putting this here is also going to give us minor protection, and that is going to just make us even stronger. And then I was going to replace this front bar skill with Grave Grasp, because Grave Grasp also got buffed. Grave Grasp is now not only going to do the 3 effects per or per circle that it provides, it's going to now do area of effect damage. So the way that it works is you summon this patch. The first circle is going to snare, the middle circle is going to immobilize, and the third circle is going to stun the enemy. So when it stuns, it's really nice because you can sync that up with all of your other summons, and it's going to allow you to get all of your Blast Bones to hit if you do end up using it with your ultimate. But now, Empowering Grasp is going to do damage per circle. So they explained it. It's going to be each circle does the equivalent to half of a normal area of effect spammable. So in perspective, think about Impulse. So Impulse does 5908, whatever that in half is, so about 2804. That sounds about right, I don't know. So each circle is going to do that. But the nice thing about that, if you can get into a corridor, say like the last Bee Gees match I was just in, you got 2 or 3 guys in here, you're going to hit your Blast Bones, and then you stack all 3 of these in one person, they're going to get hit with each circle applying all those effects, and it's going to be doing damage now at the same time. Oh, there's Battlegrounds. So definitely something to think about. It's going to make me just, it's going to make a hard choice as to like what I want to run now that Necro has some decent buffs. So, and then of course Animate Blast Bones. This is our bread and butter of the build. Healing Contingency. So this is the Scribing Mages Guild skill, and this does all kinds of goodies for us. Starting off with a burst heal. And then our signature with class script is going to increase our health, magic, and stamina by 2% for 10 seconds for each corpse within 12 meters up to 10 times. So if no corpses are nearby, create a corpse, giving ourselves some corpses. Yeah, we'll edit that out, Judy. Yeah, so not harvesting any corpses with this build, but we're making as many as we possibly can just to help keep this up. This is probably one of my new favorite skills in the game. Not skills, I'm sorry. One of my new favorite playstyles to incorporate into a build, only because I like niche necro things. And with that being said, I was like thinking to myself, what would be perfect for like a back bar skill that would serve a purpose to have this signature with class script and then give us other benefits while doing so. So the way this skill works, I'm sorry, I didn't even finish reading it. We have, yeah, so the burst heal, then our signature with class script, and then the final thing, I was just like, you know, we have buffs pretty much everywhere else that we can think of with the Saint and Seducer, our different passives. So the only thing that I could see myself not really obtaining anywhere else is minor intellect and minor endurance. So for a 22-second window, having this is extremely useful because we're on a class that is very buff dependent, so we are constantly rotating both our back bar buffs and our front bar buffs. And having that reduced cost on our necklace on top of this is going to give us great recoveries across the board. So the way this skill works is initially you hit it. It does its little animation. English. It does its little animation here, and in order for the skill to work, you have to cast a skill that has a cost to it. Now, there's two different things that I do when doing so. I cast my skill again, and it'll give me the effect. See how the corpse just created itself. Or you can... let me get this out of here. You can cast the skill again. So here it's pre-procced. Any other skill that you cast now, which hypothetically hexproof, is now going to cost us health, but it's going to give us more health in return, thus making it a heal. So not only is hexproof originally taking health away from us, it's technically giving us health back because of the burst heal on healing contingency. So I was like, that is a sweet workaround this skill, because man, is that cleanse coming to a big need for all the buildups that you have on you. And when you're generating corpses, you can just go back and forth with hitting this, cleanse it, and then I'm just pretending like I have a whole bunch of negative effects on me. You hit this, you cleanse it again. Hit this, you cleanse it again. And it gives you the burst heal. Your health never goes down. It's fucking awesome. Oh man, I love scribing. It's such a nice tool, or a necessary tool that Necro definitely benefits. So yeah, there's a couple of ways you can play with the skill. It's definitely a fun pre-buffed ability before you do your rotation. So you can either give yourself an extra heal on top of your burst heal, resistant flesh, giving you, let's see, I got 11k from resistant flesh and then 8k from the heal itself. So almost a 20k heal, just, you know, for nothing. 20k heal there. Or you can give yourself a heal off hexproof, removing 4 negative effects. Or you can even have vigor, give yourself a burst heal, and now you have a nice heal over time, plus your resistances. Like I said, that's changing next patch. Or you can give yourself a nice heal with your bone armor. Overall, any skill that you use that uses resources is going to proc healing contingency. And then all the corpses that you have on the ground is also going to start cycling your resistances going up. I'm sorry, not your resistances, your resources going up by 2% per corpse for 10 seconds. So, a lot of fun. Definitely useful in BGs, definitely useful in open world. I'm having a lot of fun just dissecting the greatest way to play this type of build, and I think I found it. So the most corpses I've had at one time in Battlegrounds, I think, was like around 7, and that was with enemy players, and then of course 4 of my own corpses that I made. So I think I was sitting around 34, 35k max health and max magic. So it was really nice to have stats like that, and I'm using Jewels of Mizrael. So keep that in mind. Like, it's a high recovery food with max stats like that. Necromancer can do some deadly things. So, continuing on with the rest of the build, Resistant Flesh, this is our burst heal. The Minor Defile that it does give us, I have no idea why Zos even implemented this into the skill, but that's what it does. Unfortunately, it is what it is, but we get a spell and physical resistance buff equal to half the amount healed, so you do a 10k heal. Yeah, like if you do a 10k crit heal, you're going to get 5k resistances for 3 seconds. Hexproof, talked about this. It's a cleanse. It only costs 1500 just because of our Saint Seducer ring. Resolving Vigor, talked about how this is going to be replaced with Bone Totem next patch, and then Summoner's Armor, just decreasing our summons by 15%, helping us with the cost. And then Life Giver, this is a flex spot. You can keep this here. I like having it just because it's cheap. It's basically 3 skills and 1 for free. When you cast this ultimate, you get Regeneration, Blessing of Protection, and Steadfast Ward at no cost. And then whatever morphs that you do pick from that, it's going to select those for you. So I have Rapid Regen, Combat Prayer, and Healing Ward. Okay. I believe that is the build in a nutshell. There's not too much to talk about. I will be posting the video either tonight or tomorrow. And then, of course, I'll do the one Battlegrounds I just had with Dark Energy here. I think I went 9-1. It was fun, sweet BGs. Definitely a lot of fun to basically just feel like a Necro again. And then we have some nice buffs that accompany us that were much needed. So, with that being said, guys, peace out. Stay frosty. Welcome to the graveyard.